I watched this documentary. It came out in 2022. It's called Villeneuve Pironi. It's about Gilles Villeneuve and Didier Pironi. They were teammates with Ferrari in the 80s. Gilles Villeneuve is the first Canadian to ever win a Grand Prix. His son Jacques Villeneuve became a world champion, one of the only ones to win a world championship title while Michael Schumacher was around. He actually has one of the most famous incidents with Schumacher. From watching that, Gilles Villeneuve seems like he was just like the best. But some interesting things that happened in that documentary. I'm going to spoil it, but it's still worth watching because to see it with your own eyes. So Ferrari back then was still, Enzo Ferrari was still alive and well. They had a rule that if they were 1 and 2 in a race, whoever was in first and second at that time is how they would cross the line. Like if you were second, you're not allowed to pass the guy for first. And there was a moment when Gilles Villeneuve had a chance to win the championship, but his teammate was ahead of him in one of the last races, and he didn't even try and pass him. So he sacrificed himself, potentially winning a championship, because that was the Ferrari rules. So he stuck to those rules. And then in 19, Didier Pironi was on his team. There was a race. Gilles Villeneuve it was at Imola. Gilles was trying to fight for the championship because he hadn't won one. And he was in first, and Didier Pironi, they went back and forth, and Didier Pironi passed him and ended up winning the race. And Gilles Villeneuve was livid. Like it completely changed his whole mindset on like the trust that he had built up with Ferrari. His teammate, they were like really good friends before that, but Didier didn't invite him to his wedding and stuff. So that happened. And then just a few weeks later, I believe it was at Spa. It wasn't qualifying because he'd already done 2 stints on his soft tires, but he wanted to go out for one more because Pironi was leading him and he wanted to beat him so bad because after the incident a few weeks ago, he was just like livid. He's like, I'm never talking to this guy again. I'm gonna make sure to put him in his place. So he went out on when he probably shouldn't have gone back out. Had a really, really scary crash. One of the worst crashes I've ever seen. His car flipped over a bunch of times. And I was going to put this thing up on the screen, but it's kind of like jarring. So you can see Gilles Villeneuve literally like the car's flipping and you just see this thing in white, which is his body, leaving the cockpit, flying through the air and hits one of those like mesh fence things, and the camera pans over. It's just this limp body against the fence. Really, really tough to watch.
Jesus.
And then Didier Pironi, his teammate, a few weeks later, he had a really, really bad crash at, I want to say Hockenheim. I don't remember the name of it, but he had a really bad crash there. Broke his leg really bad, but then I don't think he ever went back to Formula One. He went to like boat racing, like those boats that just like skip along the water. Then they go like super, super fast. And he crashed doing that, and that's how he died. Oh. So pretty tragic story, but very, very interesting to see the dynamics within Ferrari. And then a bit of like a nice story at the end is that Didier Pironi and his wife, well, I guess his wife was pregnant when he passed away. She had the babies after he passed, and they named the one, they were twins, and they named the one boy Didier after his father, and they named the other boy Gilles after Gilles Villeneuve. I don't remember which one of them, but one of them is now, or at least at the time of filming, one of them is a race engineer for Mercedes and got to go up, and they bring the person up on this podium, and
yeah,
he got to do that one time when Lewis won a race and got to do the champagne and everything. So it kind of all came full circle there. But yeah, really, really good documentary. It's called Villeneuve Pironi. It came out in 2022. Give it a watch. Some tough scenes in there. And they also interview like Bernie Ecclestone and all the big people in F1. But back then, people were dying in F1 like every single year. So it was crazy.
I was going to stupidly ask if he survived the crash, but then I remembered that he passed away during that incident, which is very sad. If I was related to him, I'd be mad. I mean, for him to give up a championship to follow some stupid predicated rule, and then just his teammate deliberately violates that rule for not even a championship, for much less stakes. I would have pulled a Max and just ran his ass off the road. Like I cannot imagine the emotion.
Oh yeah, he didn't even want to go up on the podium with his teammate, and then he was like, you can just see how upset he was. And then his family, the Villeneuves, held it against Pironi, like when he died, like they kind of blamed him. But there were some nice moments at the end of the documentary when like Gilles' wife, so Jacques' mom, she's still alive, and she was interviewed quite a bit in it, and she was saying like is what happened at Imola wrong? Yes. But can we blame Didier for Gilles' accident? No, like it wasn't his fault. Didier's wife called her to make sure it was okay that they named their son after Gilles. So they've sort of mended fences a little bit. So yeah, really, really good documentary. I would highly recommend watching it. Some tough scenes in there, but cool look into F1 and how it was back in the 70s and 80s and even into the 90s.